but again, just like fake it till you make it. I've repressed a lot of that experience, and I can't actually. When I arrived in France, I was like, "Ooh, I'm more like them than I ever was where I grew up." Like I'm kind of. I don't know. When I say I'm American to people in French, they're like, "Oh, heck, no, I would never say that about you." So they often think I'm German or like, I don't know, from another European country when I speak French.
So thank you so much for joining me today, and I'd love to know more about your journey to France and why you moved here, and a little bit about your work. Where do you live in France, and what's it like there?
I live in Ariege, which is the department south of Toulouse. Toulouse is the closest city. We're in between, so Toulouse and the mountains, then Spain. So, and kind of close to Andorra. It's in the Pyrenees.
Why did you move there originally?
Well, that's kind of a longer story. I met my ex-husband, who is from Marseille, in Prague. And we were living in Prague and both working, and his family decided to sell their family house, which was kind of close to Marseille. But the house was in ruin. And we were like, no, that's stupid. Don't sell it now. We can come and, live there and fix it up. And so we did that, and we stayed there for, I think, 2 years. Almost. Ariege is very well known for kind of being a little rough around the edges and lots of open space and kind of, it's like, countryside, but mountains and cheap property at the time. So we managed to find a small hamlet that had a barn that had never been a house. It had been a barn for like 300 years or something. And we bought that and renovated it into a house. And that was really like kind of stuck in the beginning of the mountains. It was like 750 meters elevation or something like that. So it was really just like we were cut for time. And I was pregnant also. So we had like 2 months to find a house. I never thought of speaking, learning, going to France, anything ever before I met my ex-husband. And I was in the process of learning Czech actually when we were living in Prague, and I studied Spanish. I like languages, but French never. Like I never thought I would ever be bilingual in French. And I started learning when I was 25, 26. No, even after that, because I moved here when I just turned 26 when I moved to Prague. So like around 27, I started learning. And so in the beginning, I was just like a baby. I would just sit there and observe and listen and smile and nod and pretend that things were funny when I didn't understand anything. And I read a lot. I kind of taught myself by immersion. And it took me a long time. And I mean, now I consider myself I haven't been tested, but I'm probably C1 bilingual and still making faults because, it's French. But I think what really happened for me is actually when I started teaching. I started teaching as a contractual teacher in Marseille. In college and lycée. And that's when I really realized like, I don't speak French. I really have to kick this into gear. It was really difficult. But because it was so difficult and I was really forced to speak with the students, speak with the colleagues, like learn a system of education that was totally foreign to me. I had no idea what I was doing. I can't believe they gave me the job, honestly. Kind of fake it till you make it situation. So I'm a contractual teacher, and I have 2 métiers. So sometimes I'm prof d'art plastique, so the arts teacher in college when there's a post, and then sometimes I'm an English teacher. And currently I have a contract to the end of the school year in a high school in Pamiers. So I'll be doing that till the end of the year, and they want to renew my contract for next year. So sometimes it works like that. Like I taught at 2 middle schools for 3 years, and it was just a replacement job for a couple months, and then I ended up staying for 3 years. So
you just said that you started in college when your French wasn't so great. Was that your first job?
So when I finally had all my paperwork put together here, being in France, my ex-mother-in-law, she was an inspectress for the academy. And because I had done English teaching and art classes, I really like teaching, and I had done it in the States, I had done it in Prague. And we were thinking about what could I possibly do for work in France with my level of French. Just kind of cut and dry, like, no, you just have to do it. That's it. No questions asked, just, put your ass out there. So she got me the links, and she's like, okay, let's put your resume together, put your CV together. We did that, and I got a job within, I think it was like 2 weeks or something, in a middle school in the north of Marseille, which is kind of a rough area. So yeah, I grew up in big cities and I know rough areas. I did a lot of extracurricular activities in like impoverished schools, like garden programs, stuff like that. So I kind of had the idea of what it's like to work in these situations. And then I got to Marseille and I was like, oh, something else. And I always have a CDD contract, and it just depends on who I'm replacing. Or because right now I'm not even replacing someone. There was an open post that like they didn't have English until I got there in the middle of November. So I'm kind of working in a kind of broken system, and it's nice actually. I kind of come and go, and I don't feel so tied down. I'm not someone that can be very tied down in a job, but it is very consistent. Like I kind of know what to expect when I get there. Just kind of have to learn the ropes of each school and get to know the kids. And again, throwing myself straight into the jungle kind of thing. Like I was in the college for I think 4 or 5 months or something like that. I've repressed a lot of that experience, and I can't remember how long I was there. It seemed like an eternity. But like I saw the end of the contract. I was like, okay, I only have to do this for this amount of time. If your level of French is not, if you're not confident in your level of French, you can have a lower level and do it. I mean, I did. Not having the confidence to have the reaction or to be able to like multitask everything that you're hearing and then try to say and then try to calm everyone down, get everyone on task. Like it's a real, for me, it's a very physical job. Like most people think of teachers sitting behind their desk or standing in front of a board. I am constantly walking around and checking on all of my students and kind of circling and listening and making sure that they're on track, like not hovering helicopter style, but it's a very, very interactive job, which I also like. It makes the time go by. I mean, we laugh a ton. Like it's really dynamic. Like it's just, I love that about it, I think, the most. Well, I have a degree in art, so fine arts, and I did my studies in Michigan and university in art history, printmaking, and philosophy. And I got done with that, and I was like, what the hell am I gonna do with all this diploma that I'm hanging on to? And it didn't actually come into realization until I got here, and having those diplomas got me into the work of teaching, or being in Europe got me into that. They considered, having these diplomas as someone, I was considered, competent, and like I could do this role even if it's specifically the thing that I was teaching. It's the same here. Like if you decide to go to school to become a teacher and you do that track and you become titulaire and you do that, you choose your matière and you choose it, like and you keep doing that, like. So I think it's kind of like that in the States too, where like you go to teach, you have to get your education degree. And I think it's kind of the same mentality, but I kind of scooted in a weird way. So like I wasn't in that system of like, okay, I don't have a degree in education. So I'm not formatted in the same way as everyone else around me. And well, I don't know actually, because when I was doing my art education, I had a few friends who were in the art education program, like learning how to teach art for middle school and high school. And they were always kind of considered like the silly ones, like they were in art school, but it was like the art part was secondary and learning how to like do crafts with kids was primary. But it always intrigued me but it was so separated. Like I was in the fine arts, you know, I was doing something that I was going to be in a gallery, or I was going to be a professor one day, or something like that. And to actually finally be in it, where I was actually teaching, because I did that too. I taught middle school art, and I just remember all of that coming back to me, like, oh, it is important to kind of have a background in knowing how to manage all this stuff and organize how to do it. But again, just like fake it till you make it. Oh God. Difficult living in France. The difficulty living in France, I mean, it's changed so much over the years. In the beginning, it was basic communication and not understanding, because I come from Michigan and everyone's really like kind of fake polite, and there's a lot of excuse me's and thank yous, and I don't know, I was so used to that growing up, and it's still, I mean, I was never exactly like that either. I always kind of felt out of place. Actually, when I arrived in France, I was like, ooh, I'm more like them than I ever was where I grew up. Like I'm kind of, I don't know, not standoffish, but I don't just say thank you and niceties for nothing, you know? But I think it was a really big shock when I got here to kind of confront this idea of what is French rudeness, especially on the telephone and things like that, where in the first 5 minutes of talking to somebody, it's just this wall. And I feel like it's still like that. And I've kind of made it my objective to kind of like penetrate that wall sometimes with certain people, like people that I'm going to see on a daily basis or people that I need something from. I think that's the most difficult part. It's like, can I break down this wall? How long is it going to take me? And is it worth it? That's the biggest difficulty. I think the other one is, I mean, the administration, of course, is just mind-boggling. Like right now I'm going through, I've never had CAF before, but since I left my husband, my ex-husband, and I'm living on my own now, I'm trying to get rental help, and I put that in the end of September, and they're still asking me for documents that I've given them like 4 times. And like I feel like it's like a big joke. I think I'm actually better at French administration than a lot of my French friends. Because it was kind of that same mentality of like, oh my God, you guys are so hard to deal with. I'm going to have to just go do this myself. And I think after being forced to do it, I'm not nervous about doing it anymore. And I'm very vocal about what I need and how I need it. And again, the breaking down that wall, and like, I'm still polite when I do it, but I'm very assertive. And I think if I wasn't, like, I mean, I remember when I didn't have that assertiveness and when I didn't have the language, and how much I would just go home and cry about it. And now I don't go home. I sit there and I say, no, you're going to do this now because I don't got time. And I feel like most of the time within 5 to 10 minutes, that's broken down. This false sense of pride or this insecurity that's coming from the other side, even. Like them being in charge as a fonctionnaire, I think you can wiggle them out of it. And once that happens too, you kind of have someone on the inside. People come to maybe Paris, and that's their experience of France. And I can't stand Paris. Like I can't be there for more than 2 days. I start to get super, I'm just overwhelmed. Like if I don't have objectives when I'm there, and I'm not just like going from one place to another place, if I have to like sit and take in the city, I get really angry. But yeah, the rudeness thing, I think, yeah, it does come down this it's not fake nice. You can be tired, you can be in a bad mood. You don't have to show your emotions. You don't have to share everything about yourself. You don't have to, give your energy away. Actually, you can keep it for yourself. And that's how I saw it too when I first got here. I finally felt like here I could just, not change my facial expression and just go along my day and not be hassled by people. I really like that too, where like there's not this culture of being like, oh, can I help you? Can I do this? Can I get this for you? Da, 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 da. I always felt very berated by that. And as a server too, I was never like that. I did waitressing and bartending for years, and my managers over there would always be like, you need to sell, you need to be at your tables more. I'm like, they are here to eat, they don't need to see my face. And I would get better tips for it, but the managers, they're like, you're not selling enough. I'm like, I'm selling what I'm selling. People are here they know what they want, it's fine. Like it was just this culture of like forcing. And so I got to France, I was very relieved.
I wish I was just back home, and you
Never.
haven't gone through any of that. Nothing.
Even my generalist, when he became my doctor, 10 years ago, in the beginning, he was because I was having some mental health problems after having my son, some postpartum depression, and he's a great doctor. We were going through things like, why did you come here? You know, why did you leave where you're from? And I'm like, because I was never from there. I told my parents when I was 10 years old, I'm like, why am I here? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, I don't belong here. And they just looked at me like I was, being a kid and being crazy. But I remember saying like this, I don't belong in this. I'm a different soul. Like I'm misplaced. Like I need to go. And so as soon, yeah. And so when I finished my studies in art, I moved to Seattle because I was like, well, at least I'll get out of the Midwest. And it was in Seattle that I was like, if I can't hang in Seattle, because it's kind of, I don't know, it is kind of a European culture there a little bit and Asian influence. So it was kind of a good mix. I don't know. It's interesting. I was like, no, this is not it. I'm still like, I still got to get out of this place. And the second I put my foot in Italy is actually where I landed first in Europe. It was just on this is it. I'm getting closer to where I'm supposed to be. And it was like a treasure hunt. It was really strange. And I'm still trying to figure out why France, like, why am I here specifically? Because I know this is not my landing place. Like I can say that, like, it's not my final destination in life, but it is quite cushy. Like,
Yeah, what I find, because I'm very close to England, I can go back frequently to see my
yeah,
family. And every time I go back, I'm shocked at how people are asking me the strangest questions when I don't even know them. Like, you go to buy something in a supermarket and people say, do you have anything planned for the weekend? And you're like, why are you asking me this? I don't know you. The cashier. And I'm just wondering if you go back to America, you might find the same thing.
I think that's why I got overwhelmed last time. It was a lot of questions that I was like, I'm not going to share this with you. This is not part of who I am. And I forget that everything's kind of tiny here. And then I got back there and I was like, oh God, this is no wonder the world is dying. Look at the portion sizes. What's wrong with you people? I got really angry at everyone, as I was when I lived there too. But
So maybe we could generalize that in France, people are quite private and they keep
private,
themselves a
and
bit
I
more.
think modest. I think more modest than anything. Um, Private, yeah, that happens too. I don't have a lot of friends that are, well, not girlfriends that are French. It's easy to meet French men for some reason. Like they're. It's not about privacy. They just don't. They're not so rigid in their ways of being. I do no, never expat circles. I have tried making friends with expats and it usually fizzles out. I think because it's based on the premise of the fact that we're expats, but then we end up being really different people. It's happened a few times. Um, and I never meet Americans. It's really rare to meet Americans. I usually end up meeting British people. And I feel like they're very, very expatty. Like they all kind of click together and that's their thing. And I can't be integrated into that. And I don't want to either. So that's kind of hard. I've never been part of an expat group or anything. So I think that's why I've been forced to be more French too. It's like, if I'm going to find people like, actually I found some friends that, are not English or American that do speak English, like Polish people and Portuguese people. And I feel like I get along better with them in a weird way. It's a strange area in France where because of the mountains and because it's kind of, they call it Ariege, like it's like another country within France. Like the mentality, it's really kind of sauvage. It's really wild. Like it's really it's a really different mentality. Like I miss it when I have to go away for a couple of days. Like I like to go see the rest of France, spend like a week here, or, a couple of days there. But when I come back, I get this like, oh, it's so nice here. There's nobody. There's just mountains. There's hardly any cars. But I feel like there's, within the past 10 years since we've been here, there's been a lot more young people since COVID, especially a lot more young families, like kind of like my ex and I did, where we came here because it was cheaper and the cost of living is less and it's clean air, clean water. I feel like there has been a kind of a mass movement. So when I first moved here, I was like, wow, these mountain people kind of closed off. And the village life is really, it's mountainy. So like you have to really like drive and walk or hike to get to another place where we were. And then in the past 10 years, there's been a lot more families coming from all over France, a lot more mixed families. Like in the hamlet where we bought the house, there's a Belgian African couple. There's a woman that just moved there. There was a Portuguese family, and then they left, and a woman she's not from Ariege, she's French, super cool. She came and she bought that house. The most French couple they've been there for 20 years. Like nobody in that hamlet is actually from there. And so, yeah, that was really mixed to have like, a group of 15 houses and everyone's from a different part of the world or part of France. That was really interesting.
How do they manage to live in Ariege and exist? Are they working from home? Are they traveling to Toulouse? What is going on?
No, I don't know. There's just like, once you get to know everybody, like you just kind of find work and you kind of find things to do.
You can
And
just move to Ariege and just make a life with
well,
a small amount of
yeah,
money.
you have to be a certain kind of person, I think. And you have to be a little bit different. You have to be a little bit kind of like make your own way, kind of renegade. I don't know, that's the mentality. It's like you're not like the rest. You're not like the sheep. The sheep are for the hills, for grazing the hills, it's not that mentality at all in the people.
So
The people are more like
you said that it's really sauvage, and I've heard people say this about Ariege. Ariege is really sauvage. The people are sauvage. They say that the landscape is sauvage, the people are sauvage. What does it mean?
I can't explain it. Like I've written a lot about it. And when it comes to, this storytelling, I can do it. But when I'm just talking about it, it's hard. It's very poetic, actually. Like I think the first time I had a feeling of this was that, I mean, you can just kind of be who you are here. That's the number one thing. Like nobody is going to say like your hair is out of place, your shoes are dirty. Like no one is going to judge you for that. I mean, yeah, there's certain circumstances, but like
Okay, I think this is a kind of the French dream. This is what people imagine moving to France is, or moving to the countryside in France is this kind of
yeah.
liberation and anti-capitalism thing.
I find myself now, though, since I don't live in the thick of Ariege, because we were in the mountains and we were in that like kind of village mountain life, and since I separated from that, I find myself gravitating more back towards city life, and especially because my boyfriend lives next to Toulouse, and I'm kind of in between now. Like I'm kind of surfing the edge between like Haute-Garonne, Aude, and Ariege. Like I'm in between three departments right now in my daily life. And like I can see the change. I like living in this weird border.
If someone's kind of looking at your situation and thinking, wow, I would love to do that. I would love to do what she's done. Move to Europe. Could you give them any advice on the reality of it?
Like it wasn't I didn't say in my head like, oh, I have to be in a specific place. I see myself doing this. Like I surf. So to give someone advice onto how to like install yourself somebody or somewhere, like I don't think I could ever give that advice. But I think the biggest advice would be if you really want to be in France, like come here and test it out. Like test out the regions. Everything is so different. Each place is so different. I mean, I drive, 30 minutes to get my kids at school, and I'm in the mountains. I drive 30 minutes to go to work, and I'm in the plains. Like it's just, and I can see the mountains. It's really, and the mentality is different. I think the best advice is just like set yourself up a little bit more for ease or to try it out.
First of all, I want to say thank you very much for joining me
So
today, and it's been great. Thank you.
I'm
Thank
glad
you
we
so much.
finally talked. I feel like I've known you for a couple of years now. 3 years.